If you're new to Hell Loose, and especially if you're coming from Battlefield, you might open the map and see this and think to yourself, okay, I get how this works. This is like Conquest. Well, the truth is, you don't, and it isn't. This is nothing like Conquest, and thinking that it is will sabotage your entire approach to this game. This fundamental misunderstanding brought by this comparison is probably behind most of the problems you see in public matches today, and it is unfortunately very widespread amongst the community. So I'm gonna try to explain why stuff like focusing on getting inside strong points is wrong, and why the entire mindset of comparing this to Conquest mode results in frustrating gameplay and underperforming teams that lose without seemingly anyone understanding why. First, let's go over some of the key differences. In Battlefield games, capturing a flag provides your team with several different spawn locations and sometimes even resources like additional tanks or airplanes. As long as the team has the flag under their control, then you will be able to spawn there and vehicles and other resources will continue to appear. In most cases, the flag capturing radius is pretty tight, so you need to be in control of the one or two main buildings at the center of the point to capture it. Now, repeat after me. That is not the case in Hella Loose. Spawn points in Hella Loose are player-built structures that can be destroyed by enemy players and are independent of map control. They are not associated in any way to strong points, and that changes the way teams need to fight over map control entirely. The area of the map that counts towards capturing a sector is also much larger than in Battlefield. If the strong point is the equivalent of the flag, then the actual area you use to capture the sector is around 20 times bigger than that. It's not even remotely the same. The problem is that it takes players much longer to understand how important this is, and to recognize these differences when compared to the traditional Conquest game mode. The tactical implications of being able to set your own spawn points and how sector capturing works in Hella Loose aren't immediately apparent, and frankly it takes time and experience or even talking to more veteran players to even realize that they exist. So, let's talk about the main problems that this mindset brings over to Hella Loose. First of all, map control. When most players see the sector being lost, their reaction is to focus on getting as many people as possible inside the strongpoint. This is an entirely logical thing to do. After all, if you have more people inside the strongpoint than the enemy does in the sector, you won't lose it. So this line of thought makes complete sense. The problem is that it is short-sighted. Imagine you're inside a submarine and you're being attacked. Leaks start cropping up, so the captain tells all the crew members to go and seal them. The problem is, unless you get rid of whoever is attacking, the leaks will keep multiplying, and you can't really fight the enemy if you're plugging holes with your fingers. This is exactly what happens in Hella Loose. If you're inside the strongpoint, you have nowhere to go. You only have one defensive option, which is staying put and defending. If you try to leave the strongpoint, you will be facing the enemy head-on, which puts you in a really bad position. You can't flank around, and you probably can't really see or shoot very well because grenades and artillery are coming down and everybody's shooting at you, so you're completely suppressed. You're basically trying to stay alive as long as you can and maybe shoot at one enemy or two as they enter your line of sight. You're plugging leaks. With no real way to fight, the enemy will just keep pouring in because everyone is trying to hold that strong point instead of taking care of the enemy garrisons, which are the real problem. Now, if you can get around and flank, or if you can fight from a position that's not being bombed to hell and back every few seconds, you at least have a chance at winning the fight. Even if you lose the sector, taking down the enemy garrisons and outposts from which the attack is actually being launched will eliminate their map control, and you will easily take the sector back again. So even if an enemy attack succeeds at taking the sector, that doesn't mean it will succeed at holding it. Okay, let's talk about everybody's favorite topic, garrison placement. You will more often than not see squad leaders placing garrisons directly inside strongpoints. And to be fair, even if you understand how strongpoints and sectors actually work, this seems like a logical thing to do. After all, if I can get my team to spawn inside the area that counts more towards capturing the sector, then that should make it easier to capture it, right? Well, I just told you why that's not really the case, and having a garrison right on the point I think goes a long way towards enabling and promoting that mentality. But here's another problem. Strongpoints are generally going to be the focal point of the entire firefight, because as an attacker, it makes a lot of sense to start getting people in the strongpoint to start capturing sooner. Once the sector is capped, any defensive garrisons will get destroyed automatically, so there's an asymmetry in terms of defending versus attacking. You can successfully defend for an hour, but that won't have any effect on your enemy's garrisons. The same is not true for attacking. An attack needs to be overwhelming for just 3 minutes, which is how long it takes to cap a sector. So, with a garrison on the point, the chances of it getting destroyed by artillery, grenades, or even a tank shell are huge. Even if you place the garrison behind a building, which might seem like this big brain move, it is still in an extremely vulnerable position. Some players realize this and think, well, the outpost doesn't get destroyed by a grenade, so I'm gonna put that down as well, just in case that the garrison gets destroyed. And that's how you end up with the absolute weakest tactical position that you can have, especially when defending. If one enemy soldier manages to sneak in, your entire team's ability to spawn at the point gets taken down. A more sensible approach is placing garrisons around the point. You can still do this even if you place one at the strong point, but as I mentioned, this will inherently lead to people spawning and staying inside that strong point area instead of spreading out and patrolling around the sector to find and destroy enemy garrisons. Not having a garrison directly inside the strongpoint allows you to place several garrisons 75 meters away from it at a variety of different angles. This makes them much less likely to get destroyed while still being close enough to retain control of the sector. Essentially, this allows you to get inside the strongpoint quickly if needed, while also giving you the flexibility to flank around attacking enemies. And as a bonus, it's likely all these garrisons are within the capture sector, so the chances of the sector being lost, even if the enemy takes the strongpoint, are much lower since your entire team can spawn within the capture radius. So, you see, strongpoints aren't as important as you might have thought, not in terms of garrison placement and certainly not in terms of sector capturing. Map control is what matters, and you get map control by securing areas around the map with spawn points. Garrison placement, not strongpoints, are the key to controlling a sector. You might lose the strongpoint, but if you control the surrounding area, it is just a matter of time until you take it back. There are far more important locations elsewhere on the map that provide more significant tactical advantages than the actual strongpoints, like the road in Purple Heart Lane or the town area in Utah. But since they're not marked on the map with a big red circle, people tend to ignore them. Now, this doesn't mean you're an idiot if you run towards the point when the map starts, or if you try to secure it with your squad. It is the focus on this with disregard to everything else that is the problem that you see sometimes in public matches. It is thinking that placing one garrison inside each point and nothing else is good enough. It's not realizing that a defensive position means covering the flanks by actually having squads securing them and not just by aiming at them from a window inside the strongpoint. I made a video for Hell Let Loose called Guide to Everything that's become quite popular, and I wish I could have explained this concept in that video because I really think that this is something the community of players at large needs to understand better, because when they do, when both teams get that this is a game about map control and not flag capturing, that's when you get to have the most fun in Hell Let Loose. Alright guys, that will be all for now. If you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them below. I'm very interested to see what people think about this and what their experiences are. If you like this video, maybe think about subscribing. And as always, thank you for watching, and I hope I will catch you in the next one.